A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to films I should have talked about years ago. So, films I should have talked about years ago, proudly... No. Actually, no, it doesn't really proudly present to you Slender Man, 2018. Yeah. I actually went ahead and wasted both my time and money. Yeah, I actually had to rent the movie because I couldn't find it anywhere in terms of streaming platforms. Not a single one has this. But you know what though? I'm just gonna go ahead and talk a bit about this because I actually went as far as to purchasing it $4 on YouTube for 4K Ultra and watched it while I was out in Washington, D.C. even. So here's what I got to say about this. The scoop on this is not very well pieced together. So I'll just have to go ahead and talk about it to the best of my ability. Slender Man is sort of based off of the likes of the many conspiracies of Slender Man's existence. A figure that can in fact accompany you in the dark. It was in fact very well known as a PC game, of which you had to collect 8 pages. And these pages were very reminiscent of a couple girls who actually went as far as to use the excuse of Slender Man to basically commit a murder, a very dangerous one, so to speak. And while the Slender Man conspiracy and murder scenario were frightening when they actually happened back in the day, this movie practically has nothing to do with it at all. In fact, what it does is it incorporates a bit of a fictional aspect as what some people might have already suspected. And while this film does in fact have the likes of some screenwriting and plenty of pieces put together, the filmography, directing, producing jobs were certainly not well put enough. And scripts were not written all too well at all because there's just plenty of lines out there that suck. Not to mention casting. It's a bit of a very low budget excuse, yet somehow it was big enough to be released in theaters and somehow score a box office bomb, of which that none of us should ever forget about. It certainly is pretty undeniably bad. I can sure tell you that. Of all films in 2018, I hardly would have ever felt that this would be ranked so much lower than the likes of other 2018 films. I've seen plenty of good films out there, I've seen plenty of bad films out there, and this one might just be one of the lowest in terms of recent years. At least from a period of maybe 10 years, so to speak. That's probably what I'll give it, because I know so many films that are way worse than this. But Slender Man 2018 basically gives us a bit of a more original take on the famous creepypasta character itself. What it does here is it simply utilizes a group of friends who basically make contact with an anonymous series of texts written by who knows what. And these friends basically engage in a bit of a challenge. They believe that Slender Man is real and can be found somewhere in the township that they are living in. And what they try to do every night after school is they would get on the laptop and focus on the task at hand, which is to simply follow the directions. They go so far as to have certain bits that would be deemed questionable by today's standards, and it eventually escalates to a point where one of the friends actually disappears. Yeah, she goes missing. And they organize a search party and even inform the freaking news about this stuff. Man. Like, what could I possibly say about any of that stuff? The fact that it was stupid enough to simply put minors in front of a laptop with anonymous stuff, like, that is a red flag alone. I know it's a movie, but the thing is, there's a lot of these elements that have been done in real life. And because I saw it, at a time where we have literally seen everything by this point, done by people on social media and everything, with all the groomer cases and stuff that had happened, there is absolutely no reason to ever put yourself on the web like that. I cannot stress it enough. And this movie is just unexplainable at this point. There's little to no plot that happens after the girl goes missing. They try to find out where she is by following more directions. It eventually goes to a point where there's a huge rift in the relationship between their own families and all their other friends and all their other acquaintances that they know. The school teachers know, the police officers know, everybody, the whole township feels undeniably mad about this stuff. They cannot find a child who went missing. All because the group of friends were suckered into trying to find a creepypasta figure in real life. There's a reason why it's fiction. However, what happens by the end of this movie is a real shocker. Something that we did not expect to happen at all. Well, it turns out he is real. The Slender Man himself is actually a huge threat. The whole reason why one of them went missing, to begin with. Yeah. You can't make this up. So, what did it try to accomplish? I don't really know. And if I ever had to go and give a scoring to this, well, in all honesties, I can't be too low with it, right? What good is a scoring like maybe 1.4 out of 10? That might be it, right? Maybe you know I'm right. Or maybe you might think otherwise. If this movie really appeals to you, if you're that big of a fan of creepypastas and whatnot, you can definitely waste your time on this. And money. Unless you can't find it on a streaming platform that you already pay for every month. But for me, it was a whole different experience. $4 down the drain. I only found maybe like 40 pennies of it worth. 40 pennies. I don't know who even pays other people with pennies or even spends pennies on anything anymore. Maybe for leukemia patients. That might be the only good reason to ever spend only pennies of your money on anything. Otherwise, please don't watch this. Please don't let yourself be like any of them. It just exhibits the stupidity that people do online. All of it. Not a single hint is negotiable. 1.4 out of 10. 0.1. That's basically my default high top score on that part. Low score, 0.0. Probably like anybody else. Anyways, if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.